Ayush, welcome to the show. Man, how does it feel to be Ayush today?
It feels great, Brett. Thanks for having me. I graduated in 2019, and like any other physician, any other medical professional, you graduate, what do you want to do? You want to buy a big house, you want to buy a big car, and I was going through the same path. And I was looking at this nice, like you said, nice architecture in New Orleans, big windows, tall ceilings. New Orleans properties are really great. So I was looking at that. And then 2020 happened, COVID hit, all the real estate market was kind of shut down. New Orleans was one of the toughest markets for COVID. And then I saw, as a medical professional, I saw a few things. One, I saw physicians getting furloughed. So a job that I thought was very safe, that was not safe anymore when I saw people around me getting furloughed. And the second thing I saw was your 401k, 403b, which is a usual path of investing, being shattered. Like a couple of days and the S&P dropped like 50%, 80%, and some of the guys were retiring from 2 million became 1 million in a night. So at that point, for me, it was, I didn't know anything about investing, real estate. I had zero knowledge about it. As medical professionals, we learned zero about it during training for like however long you do. So I figured out like the biggest expense for me. I'm very risk averse, like a lot of medical professionals. I was like, what is the biggest expense for me? And housing was the biggest expense for me. I was paying 2,300 for rent at that point. And I was like, how can I take away that housing expense? And after researching, reading a bunch of books, going to some courses, I figured out house hacking is a good strategy in which I can actually live in a portion of the property and rent out the other portions and reduce that 2,300 to as low as possible, at the same time creating an asset. For me, like my background was I was renting out for $2,300, $2,295. I'll just round it 2,300. So I decided what suits me the best. I didn't have a big family. I was single, just started dating at that point, and I was okay with being in a unit. Like there's so many ways you can do house hack. Like briefly, you can like buy a big house, multiple bedrooms, and rent out other rooms, and you can live in a room. For me, that wasn't working out. So I thought I wanted to live in one unit and rent out the other units. When I did the math on it, and they were like, there's like three options to it. You can have a duplex, like you renting out one unit and renting out the other. You can have a triplex when you're renting out two, and you can have a quad in which you're renting out three units. Obviously, the more units, the more rooms you rent out, the more cash flow you get to pay off your mortgage. So that's what I did. I bought a quadplex. Up to 4 units when you buy, it's still counted as a residential real estate property, in which they will be okay with giving you owner financing. So I was able to use 3.5% FHA loan for it. And I bought that with very little money down. Lived in a unit. I kind of renovated all the units and then increased the value by, I would say, 33% in like 6 months to 9 months. And at the end of 1 year of FHA loan, was able to refi, get to a conventional loan at that point, get all the money that I put in for renovation and down payment out. Basically, I got that property for $0 at then, and my overall expenses were 4,300 with me living over there, and my rental income was 5,300.
Nice.
So the spread that happened was, I bought it for $0 because I got all my money out. I was getting $1,000 to stay over there. So basically 2,300 negative to 1,000 positive. That's $3,000 a month net difference.
First deal, Ayush?
Just on the market. This was 2020. I was going to work. I was working a night shift. My girlfriend, who's now my fiance, thank you. She was working in the same. We work in the same hospital. She was working. She called me earlier. She's like, "You need to come early because I found a property." So she found the property.
Nice.
And it was a 4-unit building, like I said. And then I emailed the realtor the same night, and the next morning we went to see. It was a group showing. Like I've never seen anything like that before. There were like 20 groups, and they were like, okay, first 5 groups go see this unit. Now you wait outside the next 5 group, and then you go to see the next unit. There were like 20 group showings. I think what helped was, after like half an hour of seeing that, I put in an offer. I was probably one of the first guys. I don't know what the comps were. I don't know if I overpaid or not. I remember the next door neighbor. I met him after I bought the property, and he asked me, how much did you buy for it? And he's like, you overpaid for this way too much. That didn't help, didn't help. But again, the same thing. At that point, when you go through the process, there's so many things that's going on. I just have to go back and be like, hey, 10 years down the line, this property is definitely going to be worth this much, or way more than that. And and it was, and your 10-year picture generally compresses to way less. Like I did the work, or we did the work, and in 1 year that property was worth way more than what I bought it for.
Yeah.
So when I started first, I was thinking that I'm going to have 100 doors, I'm going to have so many properties. I think I've definitely narrowed it down, because I've realized that at the end of the day, the reason I started investing was to get the freedom. It was to get the time freedom, to have the income coming in to do whatever I want with whoever I want and whenever I want. So that was the main goal. So right now, in the next 5 years, I love goal setting, and I make vivid vision and vivid goals. So my next one is coming at 27. So just the last 5-year goal I set, which is ending on 27, was just to make like around, replace my current income. I still work full-time W2, and I've replaced half of it, replaced the full income by that time. And in terms of real estate, it doesn't matter the number of units I have. I would rather have like units which is cash flowing better, and then have everything managed by my team. I have a team of VAs right now who do all the work, and yeah, that's how I make it as passive as I can, even though I'm buying actively. So the first thing I would tell them is, connect with the people who you look up to. So for example, if I was resident and I worked with a bunch of attendings, and this is like a story from an attending that I had in fellowship. And I would see that attending, he would work for like 10 months, and 2 months out of the year he was gone. And I was like, why is he leaving 2 months every year? Where is he going? And he's like the highest productive pediatric emergency medicine. I'm like, what is going on with that person? So one day I took some courage. I went up and asked him, what are you doing? He's like, I travel. I leave everything. I travel. I spend time with my kids. I go to other countries. And he comes back. I'm like, I'm refreshed. I took a mini vacation like every year. So that was my goal. I love traveling. And I was like, okay, so that's how I want to be. So I asked him, what are you doing to do that? He's like, I have a bunch of real estate, and I buy and make it as passive as I can. And that gives me cash flow. So I don't have to really worry about taking 2 months off. And I don't have to worry about the paycheck. So if that's what I did in fellowship. And if somebody is a resident who's like thinking about what I can do, like talk to the guys who are ahead of you, talk to the people who you look up to. And it might be someone in your program, it might be someone right next to it, somebody online, everybody's so helpful. I would say reach out to that person and talk to them, take them out for lunch, coffee, anything. If a restaurant wants to take me out for coffee, I would not be having a problem with that. But that's what I would say. Like starting out, I can give you like 20 different strategies to go about it, but this is like the simplest thing, very actionable. Look at your people around you, see the one who's most happiest, and see what they're doing and how they're getting it. And then just learn from them, pick their brain.